Hey you guys, it's Aaron Hilliard from Mushroom Wonderland, and it is early autumn, it is October, and mushrooms are coming out. So come with me in the woods to discover all the wild mushrooms that I find on my mushroom walk today here on Mushroom Wonderland.
Welcome to Mushroom Wonderland.
Wow, look at this. Perfect Boletus smithii. And so this will be moved into Pulchro Boletus soon. Hasn't officially happened, but it's not a true Boletus because it will stain blue a little bit. But you see that reddish stipe, yellowish base, and then kind of this blushing reddish colored cap, yellow pore surface. And this is edible. I've tried it once and I wasn't a big fan, but maybe I should give it a try again. It's really pretty common. So the Smith's bolete, or Boletus smithii, named after Alexander Smith, a famous mycologist who did most of his work back in the 50s and 60s. But a cool mushroom, so going in the basket. So it is officially fall, and I think we're off to a typical year. Last year was an amazing mushroom season. This year, it's a little bit slow to start. We had a long, hot, dry summer, and here we are into October. We're finally starting to get rains. But last year it started raining in early September. Typically in Washington, in Western Washington, for most of the lowlands, it's mid-October when you start seeing real mushroom season. So we're heading into that. It's going to be a normal year. It's going to be a good year for some species and maybe not so much for others. That's just the way mushrooms work. Sometimes certain species just flush like crazy one year, and it's curious what the environmental factors are that caused it to fruit like that. I'm kind of out near the Washington coast, so I'm excited to come out here and see what's growing out here. Now that it's autumn, I'm sure there is a lot of different mushrooms. I can see a lot from where I'm standing, so let's go on in and check some of these out. Wow, here's two large Calaboletus frustosus, or Conifericola, the bitter bolete. And this guy stains blue like instantly. Really cool, but inedible due to its bitterness. I mean, it is extremely bitter. So I've done the taste test on a few of these and don't really need to do it again. You can take my word for it, but this is Calaboletus conifericola, or the bitter bolete, the western bitter bolete. Look at this, two young bitter boletes. The Calaboletus looks crazy how dark the cap is. Super solid and very bluing. So cool mushroom. Wow, what a cool looking bolete. And I bet when I cut this guy open, it's going to turn blue. Look how quickly that turns blue. And these things live up to their name. If you try a little nibble of this, it is going to be so dang bitter. It will stay in your mouth for a few minutes for sure. So inedible because of that, but what a neat mushroom. All right, I came into a little flush, and it's actually like a fairy ring of these hedgehog mushrooms. They're kind of going in a circle around me. Nice little cluster right down here by where I set my basket. So let's have a look at what these look like when they're young and just coming up. Just small little buttons here. And I'm going to cut it off with a knife so I can show you the underside of the hedgehog mushroom. So, it kind of looks like just a sort of pale sherbet color on top. They get more orange with age. But as we get in here close and take a nice close look, you see these little teeth under here? That is a telltale sign that they're in the genus Hydenum. So if they're this cream kind of sherbet color and they have those teeth under there, all the mushrooms in this genus are good edibles. And so all the Hydenum mushrooms are a good edible. And a bunch of these little ones add up to quite a few. And these are butter sponges. These things are delicious. So I'm going to not take the really small pins, but anything that's about the size of a quarter or so, I will keep. Maybe just a little smaller than that, because when you get down under here and cut it way down at the base, It's actually, you know, a nice little morsel. I'm going to cut the dirt off before I put them into the basket because of these little teeth. They have a tendency to really collect a lot of debris. There's a look at the teeth. Very young and underdeveloped on these ones. So I'm going to collect the ones that are, you know, as big as a quarter or more. You know, this one over here is getting pretty big, so we'll take a look at it underneath. There we go. There's a good look at those teeth. Look at that. Unmistakable. Not gills, not a sponge, but little dangling icicles hanging down, little teeth. And this one's nice. Has a little spruce needle growing out of the cap. But these are great edibles. They're going in the basket for sure. I see some nice ones down here. Wow, look at this nice little flush of Hypholoma fasciculare, or the sulfur tuft. These are toxic and extremely bitter also. But these fluoresce super bright with a UV light. And they like eating hardwood like this. So a nice fruiting of them. And with the UV light at night, you could see these from 100 feet away. And they have an edible relative called Hypholoma capnoides. That's actually a good edible, and it does not have this bitter flavor like these ones do. You try these out and you will find out really quick that they are not a good edible, and could get you pretty sick actually. One of the more toxic edibles in the area. Not deadly, but really bad GI irritant. So Hypholoma fasciculare, really cool how it grows in these clusters like that. Ooh, I've came across a really interesting webcap, and webcap is the common name for this family of mushrooms known as Cortinarius. And this one is one of the few actually really deadly mushrooms that we have in the Pacific Northwest, and a rare one. I've actually never found this in person, so kind of exciting. The Cortinarius rubellus contains something called aurelionine that will shut down your kidney function and your liver. And it's not really well known, but it is known to be deadly. So it's not safe to go eating random web caps. These all have kind of a brick brown spore print, and usually a cortina, like a cobwebby veil that attaches the cap to the stem. These ones don't really have one obvious, but what a cool texture on the stipe. These are just finely scaly on top, which means just like a little bit of fuzz on top of the cap. And that really neat stipe texture. How cool. The deadly web cap, Cortinarius rubellus. Yeah, nice one. Hey you guys, really quick, I want to talk about this board game all about mushrooms that has been designed by another myco entrepreneur called Caps and Stems. It's not a children's game. This is a pretty complicated game, but it'll be really fun for your friends and family on these rainy autumn nights ahead. This game has over 50 species of different mushrooms. This game doesn't exist yet. It's a Kickstarter campaign, so you can go to kickstarter.com, make this game a reality, and you get your copy of the game for 20% off. You can go check out the campaign at kickstarter.com. I'll put the link in the description, or you can go to capsandstemsgame.com. Let's go back to the woods. Dang, look what I came across out here. Number 6 chicken of the woods this year. Wow, that was a fancy one. Look at that. How impressive is that? And there's another old fruiting there and another young fruiting down there. That's a nice looking chicken. So Latiparus conifericola recently made a couple of videos trying different ways of eating this. And how impressive. Look at that. Cool. This one's very moist, very young. It's just dripping water. You see that? It has not been raining out. I don't know if it's just creating all of this guttation, but a beautiful chicken of the woods. Wow. Did not expect to see that. So I might take half of it because it is a good edible in my experience now after I've been cooking it in some different ways, you know, mixing with some other flavors and stuff. But impressive to say the least. What a pretty mushroom. It's a nice piece of it. Don't really need much more than that. Look how wet this thing is. It's amazing. Yep, smells like a chicken. It smells pretty bitter to me. I don't think they smell very good, but you know, they can cook up and taste nice. You can give them to your family and friends to try out if you're not a big fan. But yeah, I'm gonna leave a lot of that here and just take some of it. Pretty neat. Look at that, getting a nice little basket. Hedgehogs, chicken of the woods, Smith's bolete. So, good day out here in the woods. It's getting a little windy, which always kind of scares me a little bit when the wind starts blowing real hard. He's a good boy. He's so good. He's so good. Yeah, what a good friend. Check out these mushrooms growing right here. Looks kind of like the hedgehog from the top, but you know, when I flip it over, whoa, totally different. This one is commonly called the false chanterelle, Hygrophilopsis aurantiacum, and it has decurrent gills, and it's kind of orange. I guess that's why people would say that it's a, false chanterelle. But yeah, they're said to be non-toxic, so you could eat these. And often, they're growing on decaying wood. Chanterelles never grow on wood like that. See that? But there you go. If you're out picking what you think are chanterelles and they look like this, these have true gills, like real slits of paper, where chanterelles are kind of more like carved into the stem. And so the Hygrophilopsis, also usually much more delicate and small than chanterelles around here. So there you go, your false chanterelle, Hygrophilopsis aurantiaca. Gonna leave these here. No use to me, but don't worry, they're not gonna hurt you if you accidentally picked them and ate them. But nobody really does. Not said to be a good edible. So let's keep going. Whoa, check this out, popping out of the moss. This is what we call a shrump, classic shrump, a mushroom bump. As I pull this moss back, it reveals these white mushrooms. And I'm gonna pick one all the way from the base, because that's how you identify mushrooms. Look at that. A white chanterelle, Cantharellus subalbitis. This one is the white chanterelle. Some people claim to like them better. I think they're a little bit more dirty, maybe a little bit more rare, but in this neck of the woods, they grow pretty prolifically right along the side of the trail. So if you see these kind of white fruiting bodies sticking out of the moss, there's a good chance this time of year that it's gonna be the white chanterelle. And so a delicious mushroom. You just gotta clean it off. Compressed air works pretty good, or just like a brush or something like that. And comparable to a golden chanterelle, only maybe just a little bit more rare. So people seem to really like the white chanterelles. Just eat a little bit at first to make sure it doesn't upset your tummy. And most people eat this with no problem. It's considered a choice edible. So there you go, Cantharellus subalbitis, or the white chanterelle. Very nice. These tend to come out a little earlier in the season than the golds, even though there are some golds up. I know that. I haven't seen any yet today, but what a pretty mushroom. Look at those decurrent veins or gills. And they're anastomosing, which means they kind of connect laterally between the gills. And gill just refers to a structure that produces spores and is kind of these paper-like structures. So these are technically gills, but a lot of people call them false gills or veins. But the white chanterelle, an excellent edible mushroom, popping up right now in a forest near you. Oh man, something caught my eye right down here. Look at this, some of the first sightings of golden chanterelle. Ooh, I see another one right in here. Pacific golden chanterelle, Cantharellus formosus, but it's molding. No, this must have been an earlier flush that does not appreciate this humidity. So yeah, don't eat moldy mushrooms. They can make you sick. But that's your golden chanterelle. Oh, look, here's a button. Oh, look at this. They're coming up. So I'm going to leave those there for now to grow a little bigger. Here's a fully mature golden chanterelle. Sometimes this will happen. They'll flush and then mature, and then they get attacked by parasitic mold. But right there, that's a good sign. The golden chanterelles are coming up. And, oh, look. And another one. Young, freshies. Beautiful. So probably the most popular edible mushroom that people forage in the Northwest. I mean, morels are pretty popular in the spring, but they're a little more elusive. Golden chanterelle, actually really common and pretty easy to find in the conifer stands. Here in the Northwest, we only have like 4 types. And none of them get buggy, but they do get moldy, obviously. But if you open one up and it has bugs in it, You know, it's probably not a chanterelle, honestly. Even the old moldy ones. Let's have a look. If I tear it open, it looks like string cheese. Yeah, there's some like bugs living on the outside, but no worms in there, you know what I mean? Porcini get a lot of worms. But these guys, they have something that the bugs just don't like. Oh, I see a bigger one. Let's check that one out. La-da-da. Ah, there you go. And it doesn't hurt to pluck the mushrooms, but you know, they always like this salal to grow in. And so I think we're off to a good year, a good start. This one's fully mature, even a little bit old, but a beautiful Cantharellus formosus, Pacific golden chanterelle. The veins always run down the stipe and kind of disappear. That's called decurrent. They string apart like string cheese, real roughly edged. These were the first mushrooms I ever confidently foraged, identified, and ate. And they were a really good one. I ate them for like 20 years. Now I have a bit of an intolerance. They give me an upset tummy when I eat them. So I'm leery about eating too many chanterelles, though I can have a bite here or there, but they sure are pretty and really popular. So if you're a new mushroom hunter, these are the ones that you should probably start with because they're really unmistakable. Nothing else out here looks like them. And beautiful. They're coming up here in the northwest. Happy to see that. And it just rained a bunch yesterday. Some way more rain coming tonight. So this place is going to be cracking off in a minute with chanterelles. So there you go. Pacific golden chanterelles in the northwest. Oh, look at this. The fir cone mushroom, or the Douglas fir cone mushroom to be more accurate. Strobilurus trulicitus. This little tiny white yellow stemmed mushroom grows on Douglas fir cones. Has a little white spore deposit, but how cool. Imagine how small the mycelium must be for these. But these are a great indicator that mushroom season is here. They are like the first thing to come out. These little cones collect a lot of moisture, and so the mushrooms like to grow right off the cones. And whenever I see these, the russulas are soon to follow closely in chanterelle. So, you know, when you start seeing these fir cones in the northwest covered in these little white mushrooms, you know that mushroom season is finally starting. And they're very common, very cute, and very photogenic. Inedible because of their size, and but a great indicator. So there you go. Strobilurus trulicitus, or the fir cone mushroom. What have we got here? Look at that. Oh, this one's like kind of furry on top. You see that? It's got like a really fuzzy kind of top. Let me pull this out of here. Whoa, very bizarre. Another one with decurrent gills. This one's called the Crogomphus tomentosus. So it's fuzzy on top, really widely spaced gills, and this has like a black spore print, really dark spores. So if you took this cap off and set it down on paper, it's going to leave a really dark spore print. Has those kind of decurrent gills like that, true gills, tomentose stipe and cap. They call this the woolly pine spike, and it'll turn purple if you cook it, and it's edible, but I don't know anybody that eats them, you know, for anything more than a novelty. And to say that you ate them, they're not a choice mushroom, but they are pretty common. And they also parasitize the mycelium of the admirable bolete. So whenever you're finding these, you can look around for Arabolitus mirabilis, and that is a much better edible than this. That bolete actually can taste a bit lemony, and it's pretty nice if you saute it up, dry saute it, and cook it kind of caramelized, you know. But these guys, KOH will turn them purple, and just cooking them will turn them purple. So if you want some purple eggs, chop up some of these mushrooms, throw them in with your morning eggs, and you know, you get a boost of nutrition and in a fun color. So Crogomphus tomentosus, or the woolly pine spike. Look at this growing off the tree. Beautiful Ganoderma organense. This is the Northwest reishi mushroom. So really beautiful fruit right here. I'm gonna pick this one off. These really have a short life. Most of these conch mushrooms can live for a long time, sometimes decades, but these ones have, you know, they only grow for about 3 months and then they'll rot and die. So making, you know, a tea or a hot cocoa out of this, or a tincture, said to be highly medicinal. The mushroom of immortality, according to Chinese medicine. This is our variety. There's several species. Look, there's another one growing right here, and these can drop just billions of spores every day. It's crazy. So I'm going to take this nice big one, leave that one here. But the reishi is a nice one. I take them, put them in my collection. I pressure cook them and then make hot cocoa to serve at my private group forays. So if you ever come on one, you know, we'll probably have some hot cocoa. What a pretty mushroom. If you're new to mushroom hunting, there's a couple of myths that I want to get out of the way really quick. It doesn't matter if you cut or pluck the mushroom, but if you're collecting mushrooms for food, it's a good idea to cut them so that you don't get a lot of dirt mixed up in your basket. They're not plants, so if you pulled a plant up by its root, yes, it will kill it. But fungus is different. You're just picking the fruiting bodies. The mycelium is alive and well underground. Another thing is that there's no way to look at a random mushroom and determine whether it's edible or not. You have to confirm the identity of that particular mushroom. There's no telltale signs. There's no colors that are warnings. Some of the most colorful mushrooms are some of the best edibles, and some of the most drab mushrooms are some of the most deadly. Even tasting or smelling, you can't tell if there's poison in it. Some of the most deadly mushrooms, like the Amanita phalloides, taste fine and smells fine. Some people say it can smell kind of bleachy, but it's one of these mushrooms that look really kind of plain, but could kill you. And whenever you're trying a new mushroom for the first time, just try a little bit at first to see if your system just disagrees with that mushroom before you indulge in a whole bunch of them. Check this out as I will kind of excavate down in here. Look at that lobster mushroom. This one, Hypomyces lactiflorum, growing on a Russula brevipeas. So lobster mushrooms are a really popular edible. Look at, here's another one, and they create these little shrumps. How perfect, beautiful lobsters. So these are really good edibles, right up there with the chicken of the woods and the hedgehog. Lots of really great edibles out here. Amazing. So look, the gills are just completely gone. They've been taken over by this parasite that parasitizes a relatively boring mushroom and turns them into these bright lobster colored mushrooms. What a great find. How cool. Those are going to go in the basket as well. And you can just lay these in the yard, spray them off with a hose. They're really tough mushrooms, and I often find them right on the sides of trails and in places that are often well traveled. I don't know if they just like the disturbance, or you know, the opportunity to hop on somebody's pant leg or an animal's leg, or maybe the wind currents. I'm not sure, but cool find. Lobster mushrooms here in early autumn. All right, you guys, that was awesome. Found tons of different mushrooms. I've got a whole basket full. Tons more videos coming in the future, all kinds of fungal events that I'm heading to. And you know, I always make videos when I go to those. So make sure to hit that notification bell. Stay tuned to Mushroom Wonderland if you're a mushroom fanatic. This is your mushroom TV show. And check me out on Patreon if you want to learn more about psychedelic mushrooms that I can't talk about over here. You could also go to my website at mushroomwonderland.com to get some merch or help support me. I do guided foray tours. I also teach classes at Olympic College. Go to olympiccollege.edu to check out the continued education mycology courses with yours truly, Aaron Hilliard. And until the next episode, much love. Peace out.